2 times 2 is 4. Written by JTB685. 2 times 2 is 4.
I'm going to collect a DNA sample for analysis. Over,
said a voice over the radio. I'd almost forgotten where I was. The bizarre organisms had put me in a state of shock. They reminded me of microbes, the kind I'd studied under a microscope in the lab, but blown up to the size of my car. 2 times 4 is 8. A man in a hazchem suit approached one of the creatures. He's a braver man than I. 2 times 8 is 16.
the life form appears to be completing a mitosis-like process of reproduction. I'm collecting a portion of the strange mucus it's secreting. Over,
he said. 2 times 16 is 32. The scientist swabbed part of the slime trail linking the two creatures together. As he sealed the sample, they pulled apart with a horrible throop and writhed around. The closest one to him extended a tube from where its head should have been and enveloped him, suit and all. Then it divided itself in two, again. I was struggling to breathe. I nearly ripped my helmet off without realizing it. 2 times 32 is 64. The general's voice called over the radio.
Code Red. I'm ordering an immediate evacuation. Soldiers, prepare to engage. Over.
Usually I hated when the military got involved in our work. They had a tendency to stick their noses where they don't belong, but this time I was relieved. Before they finished hoisting me out of the crater, I looked back. Some of the specimens were climbing towards the rim. Others were replicating. Now there were more than I could count. 2 times 64 is 128. 2 times 128 is 256. They ushered me and the other scientists into a decontamination unit, stripped us, sprayed us, then put us on a military truck. A man in a black suit explained we'd be retreating to a safe distance for quarantine and offered a friendly reminder we weren't to disclose what we'd seen to anyone. 2 times 256 is 512. 2 times 512 is 1024. I heard yelling and gunfire. Each shot lit up the night sky. Military trucks and helicopters whizzed past on our way through the desert. By then I'd counted to 2,097,152. I stopped there. School Rules of Belladonna High, written by Haunted Nightmares. Announcements for 23-666-1331. Hello, students of Belladonna High. As per usual, I will be listing the 5 rules you must follow for the day. Remember that all rules except Rule 5 change every day, so please pay attention if you wish to leave for home intact. Anyways, here they are. Rule 1. Walk on the right side of the halls in order to avoid traffic congestion. This prevents the shadow figure that lives in the school attic from being able to move classrooms undetected. He seems to be rather unhinged today. Rule 2. Always smile and nod when passing the principal, me, in Hall B. There is a possibility the figure you are seeing is not really the principal, me. And if that's the case, you don't want to be caught being impolite. Trust me. Rule 3. Make sure to have a pencil with you at all times, so you never have to borrow one from a teacher or classmate. You never know if what they are giving you is truly a pencil at all. Rule 4. If you enter classroom 13 and find an old man that goes by Mr. Hemlock claiming to be your substitute for the day, Walk backwards out of the classroom and down the hall. Do not turn around until you reach stairwell F, and then proceed calmly to the principal's office. This is essential if you wish to keep the majority of your organs. You will continue your schedule as normal once the current period finishes. Rule 5. Do not touch the belladonna plants growing all along the edges of the school. Not only are they highly toxic, they are also sacred to the entities of the school. Disrupting them will result in agonizing punishment. Well, that just about does it. Remember to stay safe, follow the rules, and have a stellar rest of your day. This is Principal Foxglove signing out.
Dawn of the Rats, written by Hugh Gidiot. We are the rats, and we are many. For years this church has been our colony's home, with its colorful windows and steeple that stabs at the sky. Not many people around, which made for an easy life. Only when the bells rang and a large crowd congregated did we need to stay hidden behind the walls, watching and listening through the cracks. We've watched and heard the man called the Father speak to the crowd once, sometimes twice a week. He shouted and pointed, speaking of God and Jesus and sin and hell. Afterwards, when most of the humans left, some stayed behind to speak with the Father. He smiled, giving advice and guidance. Rarely, the Father brought men and women in shabby clothes into the church late at night. His voice was full of warmth, compassion, until he brought them down to the basement. Then the Father's eyes grew cold. He attacked his victims with hammers, knives, needles, buried them out behind the church afterwards. We are the rats, and for years we have bared witness to the Father's horror, until the day we came up with a plan. Our chance came one day when the Father was here alone, or so he thought, preparing for the next gathering. As he walked towards the basement door, the largest of us, an old gray fur who knew the Father's cruelty well, positioned himself on one of the top steps. The rest of us waited below. As the Father descended the stairs, the gray fur pounced from behind. His teeth and fangs sank into the back of the Father's leg. He cried out in pain and shock, lost his footing, went tumbling. The gray fur was crushed against the stairs with a pained squeak. He knew the risk and still took part in the plan. As the Father lay at the foot of the stairs in a moaning heap, the rest of the colony rushed in from the shadows. The Father looked up with one eye, the other shut against the blood that ran down from his temple. He looked at us in confusion, in disbelief. Then we leapt. Confusion became horror. Our claws raked against skin, our teeth sank into flesh. Crimson blood flew, its coppery taste filling our mouths. The Father screamed in agony, flailed wildly. Some of us were sent flying, others were smashed against the floor. But he was just one. We are many. God help me, the Father screamed. No God, just us. Many humans came not long after that, dressed in crisp blue uniforms. They examined the Father's body, searched the whole church. We remained hidden in the walls, watching and listening. Out behind the church, one of the humans found a bone jutting up from the ground. That was long ago. No humans have been back since. Peaceful. We are the rats. We are many. And if you ever feel like you're being watched, thank you for listening. You can probably handle another horror story, right?